Welcome to the new video. Today you will witness the best builds for each blood type. You can expect insane magic builds and builds with extreme burst skills. Have fun! The last place on the list goes to creature blood. The problem with creature is that the blood itself gives 0 damage and only focuses on survival build. But this is a perfect setup for a support or a tank. So the best blood mixed with creature is Brute. Brute blood gives even more tankiness. I only recommend to play this build in a team as a tank position. It has the highest damage reduction and health in game, but barely offensive stats. So Curse and Blood Rage is perfect with this build. It supports the combos of your team and buffs your ally. Patch brought us a lot of new builds, and in team fights roles will get important. The setup that I recommend is 1 player plays a tank, 2 players play a damage dealer with movement speed, and the last one plays a support or a mage. This of course only affects team fights or a squad server. In teamfights, Curse will be very important because the damage you will do with that is insane. You also inflict Weaken that reduces the damage the enemy does even more. In addition, you should use Frost weapons and Frost Veil to inflict Frost and Freeze on the enemy, to even support with stunts and set up combos. On top you should use a lot of electric coating and electric weapons as well, because with this build you have nearly the maximum attack speed, so the static will do a lot of damage. The main reason I put Brute on top of my creature blood is the parry effect and the maximum damage reduction. Use the Elixir of Werewolf to increase your damage most efficient. The most important weapon in this build are the legendary Twin Blades, because of the frost infusions. Here are the attributes. When you have on your weapon maximum health, maximum movement speed and physical power, you will get perfect stats. That means high attack speed, high bonus extra health and a high movement speed. When you have also attack speed on your weapon, then you will get even the maximum attack speed. These are the passive abilities you should use. You can use also, instead of the first passive, Feral Haste to increase your shapeshift speed. That's especially good in the open world. Use the frost coating or the electric coating to increase your damage, especially with these passives. These are very strong. Instead of Ice Block you can also use Raging Tempest or Merciless Charge to give a stun or do extra damage as an ultimate. One thing you have to know is that when you play with this build, that you play without any counters, because you want the enemies to focus you and let your teammates do the damage. Next on the list is Corrupted Blood. The problem with Corrupted Blood is that when you take it as your main blood, it has 2 very bad stats. First of all, it increases your damage taken by 10%, and it also increases your blood drain rate by 100%. You have to avoid it at any cost to use it as your main blood. That's why here I'm using as the first blood Warrior. Corrupted Blood gives you an insane amount of charge gain, so you have a lot of free weapon casts. It also gives movement speed as well as attack speed in cost of shadows and explosions who are hunting you. It's very strong because it gives you insane stats without big effort, so you can maximize other stats, for example with your main blood. The results are insane. With this build you have probably the most damage in the whole map, but you will get also the most damage because of the Corrupted Blood. With this build you should also avoid fighting on distance. This is because it might be that a shadow is attacking your counter. That means when the enemy is in radius of it, it also hits him. In addition, the shadow can hit the enemy as well. As I said before, the warrior blood should be used as first blood and the corrupted as extra with the third stat of it. With this blood combination and the dread armor you have the highest physical power, 35 charge gain of the weapon and insane movement speed as well as attack speed, weapon cooldown, great weapon skill power and so on. And here are stats. On the weapons you should use physical power, attack speed and critical strike chance. You can use also critical strike power on weapons you are using mostly for the weapon skills. For example on the axes, that is a key weapon in that build as you also saw in the video. Use the red amulet and the dread armor set for the maximum efficiency of the attributes. Sanguine Mastery is here as well very useful because it boosts all your effects by a little amount. That is very helpful. For example, it gives 3 more charge rate, 2 more physical power and so on. You can also use Bastion instead of any other passive to increase your overall durability. But I rather have the maximum movement speed and the maximum physical strike chance. Once you get hit by any kind of attack you will lose a lot of health because of the corrupted blood. That's why we are using double counter and illusion veil to avoid exactly that. The 6th place we have Mutant blood. This build is all around the ultimate. You have high mobility with insane veil cooldown as well as movement speed. On top, insane ultimate with very low cooldown rate, what makes you in a teamfight very dangerous. With this build you have 0 spell chance or any physical power help, what makes you in a 1v1 very vulnerable. Because of the Mutant blood, hits with your veil decreases your ultimate cooldown by 7 seconds. In combination with low veil cooldown it seems very unfair. Try to use your ultimate in the beginning of the combat. Because of your low cooldown on your ultimate, as I said before, you can have it in the fights 2 or even 3 times. This will make you incredibly annoying. His frost abilities in combination with Cursed and Chaos Barrage is a more riskier option than Crimson Beam. This is because of Chaos Barrage you can sometimes hit nothing and makes your ultimate completely useless, while with Crimson Beam you always hit some hits. For the blood you just mix as an addition the Scholar blood to the Mutant blood. The weapon should involve veil cooldown rate, spell cooldown rate and bonus movement speed to maximize your stats. To maximize the value, use Chaos Clouding and Storm Clouding on range weapons and on close weapons Illusion Clouding and Frost Clouding. Key weapons you should use in a Mutant blood build are range weapons. The main attributes that are focused on Mutant Blood are both movement speed as well as shapeshift speed, with ultimate power and spell power, as well as a very low veil cooldown rate as ultimate cooldown rate. Passives you focus on movement speed as well as one passive option and 2 options to increase your ultimate power even further. Instead of Sanguine Mastery, you could also use Spell Cooldown Recovery, the Chaos ability or the Illusion ability is fine here. When you want a Summoner build, this is also the perfect blood to go. You just go this passive instead of Sanguine Mastery and the Movement Speed Amulet for extra movement speed. Then you can fully go with unholy spells, for example the Army of Dead and Death Knight or some other summoner spells. Is very underrated and can be, especially in teamfights, very strong. But here are the jewels for Veil of Chaos, Chaos Barrier and Arctic Storm. This build relies on pure damage with a lot of spells and a lot of spell life leech. You should use spells with 2 charges or more. This is because it will increase your free cast rate. Example for these spells are Void, Frostbat or Polarity Swift. Player counter with this build. It will be more controlled and perfect for teamfights as a support in the background. But I still recommend to use 2 attack options to maximize the damage, especially in teamfights. Makes 2 charges on a spell also very important is that Scholar Blood resets all your spells when you are using it, so you will get all your charges back. That means that you can basically cast in 5 seconds 10 spells. Only the lack of movement speed can be a problem in an open build, but therefore you have the Polarity Swift.
Oh my god. Yeah, this is insane. Can't do shit.
Mix Draculin to your Scholar Blood because it increases your spell cooldown rate even more, because of the critical strike hit increases spell cooldown, and also the charge rate and the spell life leech gets increased. These are the stats you should play with the weapons, and you should play the Elixir of Twisted. For the counting, use mainly Illusion, Chaos or Unholy. A nice addition to the build is that you're using illusion weapons with the illusion crossbow to set up your spells. Your spell stats are very high, also the spell charge gain and the spell cooldown recovery as well as the spell life leech are nearly at the maximum. For the passives I'm using spell recovery as well as some spell crit chance and spell crit power and 1 passive option. There is no movement speed needed, you're just casting your spells. There is no reason why to use movement speed here. Soon part 2 of the Blood video will come. Thank you for watching, please subscribe and like the video. See you next time.